no trace, but anyway, that there's a cigarette butt by their corral and none of us smoke. So evidently somebody stole them donkeys. Now they brought 3 in last year from Shauna, Wisconsin, and these donkeys that they're not like the other ones. They just stay by the barn, they eat and get a drink of water and go back in the barn for the most part. So that's about all I'll say. That anyway, that something's got to be done. That it's not my fault that the cattle, because they tell me to flag my fences and keep the cows in the barn and that, but that's not how you raise beef cattle. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Thanks, John. John, there's nobody here questioning your intelligence. You're good to go with us. You mentioned the donkeys, and you talked about the feed and everything, because that's been a lot of the conversation here as far as using other methods to control the wolves or protect livestock. When that happens, and you had the donkeys, who's feeding those donkeys? Who's paying for all that?
What did he say about feeding them?
Who's paying to feed them?
I'm feeding them, yes.
Right. So you.
Yeah, I feed them.
So
and
the
that,
cost
but
is
it's
on.
Still a mystery what happened to them 2 good donkeys, but the 3 we got now, that they don't stay with the cattle like them other donkeys and that, and so, well, anyway, and see, we can't they came from central Michigan about them Great Pyrenees dogs, and we can't have them on that farm because we don't live there. We have 2 farms. We can't live on both farms. Right. But we have people checking on other farm on a regular basis. And now we got 15 designated shooters in that, and so far they killed 1 wolf and wounded 2.
Okay, thanks, John. Are there any questions?
You can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of them donkeys. Tell them that.
Yeah, anyway, they told us that I got to keep them donkeys for at least 3 years or I got to pay for them, that they brought in from Shawano. But, well, anyway, that one of the neighbors goes there and gives them carrots and apples and that, so, okay, I'll let somebody else who's talking know.
Thank you, John. Next, I'm going to ask Melba Coleman to speak, and she wishes to speak and opposes the bill. Good morning, Melba.
Is it on? Am I on? It's lit up. Can you hear me? Good morning. My name is Melba Coleman. I believe decisions regarding the wolf must be based on most current scientific data. I was disappointed by Senator Casperson's remarks following my testimony to this committee on October 17th. He indicated that because I do not live in the UP, I do not understand the problem and my opinion should be discounted. But the fact is, wolves belong to all the people in Michigan. Indeed, to all the citizens of the U.S. because they use our national forests. For the record, however, while I currently live in Hazel Park, I previously lived in Norway, which is Dickinson County. There I was able to enjoy wildlife, including wolves. To hear a wolf howl, to stumble upon a track, enlighten me, just to know that the wolf was flourishing. To hear, sir, I want them to flourish. Friends would come and visit. They would try to get a glimpse of these apex animals that I always spoke of. Though I've moved downstate, I still do travel to the Upper Peninsula about 2 or 3 times a year, and so do many others. I'm concerned that Senator Casperson is misrepresenting the facts to the committee. He has repeatedly said that wolf numbers far exceed population goals. The approved wolf management plan does not establish an upper limit for the number of wolves in the state. The criteria for the state delisting were 200 wolves for 5 consecutive years. But 200 wolves was not the target population size. He also said that wolves are impacting people's business without being specific. What business and how are they impacted? Michigan law allows farmers and dog owners to take lethal action when non-lethal measures are effective. Farmers are compensated for verified losses and caused by wolves. And the grant is available to provide non-lethal deterrent measures to reduce depredation. Those measures were put in place to protect Michigan's farmers and businesses from wolf depredation. Senator Casperson seems to believe that the hunting season is needed to reduce livestock and pet depredation and to enhance public safety. There is not one case of any wolf in the state of Michigan has ever threatened or harmed a human. Further, the DNR has the authority to remove wolves that have become habituated. If federal tax dollars support the state, it seems that more voices should be considered. Visitors spend thousands of dollars to hike our trails, canoe our rivers, ride ATVs, and snowmobile, and surveys show that they value the wolf. When northern Lower Peninsula and Upper Peninsula residents were asked, 73% somewhat approved and strongly approved of having wolves in Michigan. Wolves help sustain and balance our ecosystem. With less than 700 wolves in the state, there is no scientific need to have a recreational hunting trapping season. The DNR acknowledges that the hunting of wolves is biologically complex. Many factors must be considered, not just the opinions of those who want a trophy animal, the need for peer review research, and the need for scientific wolf management is eminent. We have a management plan that is supported by 20 different groups and hunting groups. Overall, wolf depredation in Michigan is low. Between 1996 and 2012, there have been less than 250 depredation events. Wolf-related conflicts are often caused by the behavior of a few individual wolves, and the management at small scales can often address these problems effectively. DNR has exercised their authority to remove wolves that have become habituated to people. In April of 2011, DNR destroyed 3 wolves. Last spring, 8 more wolves were killed in Ironwood. This control action was ordered by Michigan DNR as a proactive measure. The wolves were in a residential area, drawn by recreational feeding of deer. The wolves did not threaten or harm a human. The approved wolf management plan outlines approaches for managing many wolf-related issues. The approaches were chosen based on scientific evaluation and the potential impacts of the wolf population, their feasibility, and their probability of success, because they appear to be acceptable to most Michigan residents. With all the non-lethal and lethal measures to control the wolves, there is no scientific evidence to support the need for a recreational hunting season for the wolf. With the delisting of the wolf, the Michigan Wolf Management Plan can now fully be implemented, including the assurance of landowner permits. Non-lethal measures are effective. I'm not a biologist. I don't have a degree in wildlife. I do have the compassion and the sense to know that it's not necessary for the wolf to be designated as a game animal. To educate people with the about these apex animals and to diminish the myth and the negative feeling that people have about wolves is most important to me. All in all, I want to make a difference. Once a wolf is gone, it's gone forever. Extinction is forever. So, let's give Wolf Management Plan time to work. There's no rush. There's no emergency. We need to evaluate the impact lethal control will have on pack dynamics and the population growth before designating the wolf a game animal. I urge the committee members to reject Senate Bill 1350. Respectfully, Melba Coleman.
Thank you, Melba. Are there any questions? Senator Green.
I do have to ask the same question to you that I asked the previous the person that testified.
Yes, sir.
How many of you personally think would be enough? Now, I think I heard in your testimony that you like the wolf.
I do.
You like to look at them.
I do.
You like to bring friends up to your UP place and look at the wolves. And that's nice. But they're also dangerous.
I agree you have to respect the boundaries, but I've never had a wolf approach me.
Right, but others have.
What I have heard, yes. Not from
Not from you.
not from my friends. Yes, sir.
But, I mean, do you observe them in your yard?
No.
You observe them with glasses a long ways away.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then my question still comes back, is how many do you think is enough? Or would you disagree with us that we think 700 is way too many? Is that what the
I
issue is?
disagree with you that 700 is too many.
Based on,
Reading the scientific documents that have been written, I personally am not, like I told you, a specialist in any way. I do know that me and my friends and others that go to the UP do not just go for the wolf, do not just go to hunt. We go to enjoy. And if we go to look and take pictures, and why wouldn't that add money to tourism if they're there? I mean, what happens when you take it away?
I'm not sure, I've not ever talked to anybody that loves the wolf like you do, so I wouldn't know there would be that many
I
people
love
that
all
would go
wildlife, but I
to
do
just
respect
observe
it.
wolves,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so I mean, you have to appreciate that that we think it's too many, and you think it's not enough.
I respect your opinion, yes, sir.
I respect yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Melba, I guess just a clarification. Some of the things you stated, I just want for the record it to be known that the reason I made the comments I did is because you were factoring in how many wolves were in the whole state of Michigan, as if somehow the wolves were free-ranging across the entire state. So therefore, 700 is not that many, and I would concur with you. If that's what we had, I would completely agree with you that maybe there's not that many using the entire state of Michigan. Our problem is they're not in lower Michigan the way they are in the upper peninsula, and as you heard testimony up in Gogebic County, they on the west end are dealing with a very large portion of the wolf, so they're in isolated pocketed areas. That is why we're running into some of the problems we have. So I just want you to know that that was the disagreement I had. I think it's unfair to suggest that the entire state is the average with the 700. So you're spreading them around the whole state. Make sure that we understand.
Correct.
Our problem is the upper peninsula, and in fact, the upper peninsula's even got pockets where there are not a lot of known wolves in certain areas, and other areas are heavily inundated with wolves. So that was the reason for challenging your statement, because you made a picture that made everybody believe the wolves were spread out across the whole state, and that's not the case. And the other point is, as you've heard testimony up in Gogebic County, those people live that every day, and the wolf's nature is aggressive. It just is. It's the nature of the wolf. That's how when you look at, I've got pictures up here of what they do. When we talk about a wolf killing an animal for food, I would agree they do, but if you'll notice, they don't come back and finish off the animal and make sure it's all devoured. They kill, eat, and sometimes it appears to me they're just killing because it's their nature. And so there is an inherent, I think, danger to suggest that they're these fuzzy, warm dogs that you just look at a distance. They have an aggressive nature, and when they're in our cities, I think we better be concerned about that. And because of their aggressive nature, there could be potential, and I don't think we should wait until something. You mentioned I haven't heard of any attacks. I have heard of people, foresters in the woods, that have run and got to the vehicle because the wolf didn't run after him, but the wolf stayed with them, stayed pace with them. I don't think they wanted to wait around to see what the wolf had in mind. So
I would respect that.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I mean, I've never had them come after me, and they knowingly know I'm there. Personally.
Sure.
You know, the reason why I spoke the way I did is because I felt that you did discredit me because I live downstate. But I was a UP resident. I still go there. I love it. I mean.
Yeah, and I have no disagreement with you there. I just want to make, for the record, you were stating, you were making the impression that the wolves, on average, looking at the whole state. And I just want to focus on where the wolves are, and if that's how you're going to average it out with your statement, I'm going to challenge you a little bit, because that's where I say you're not living in the problem that we are. And that's the
maybe I
difference.
didn't mean for it to sound as a whole.
Sure.
It might have been how I worded it, because I'm not, silly. I I see how far down they've come. I know they're not anywhere near this way yet.
Right. And we need to stay focused on that, because then we can get to the science that everybody here keeps talking about, and come up with a solution, versus one side or the other trying to win with evidence that's skewed a little bit. And I think both of us got to be very careful that we stay focused on the evidence at hand. And that's the purpose of the hearings. That's the purpose of all these folks that have engaged with the wolf to tell us what they're experiencing, so we can get there. Are there any other questions? Senator Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we want to move things along with this bill, but you do have up in your area, in fact, he's a professor at Michigan Tech, John Vitash, I believe it's pronounced, and he is one of the foremost experts on wolf populations in the United States. So as this moves forward, I would, if you haven't talked to him already, I would encourage that you seek him out. I have the information available. I'd be happy to share with you, and see what his expert opinion is on wolf, deer, moose population. His laboratory is pretty much Isle Royal, and that has been a laboratory for wolf moose population studies for the last 100 years. So I would encourage seeking him out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your testimony. Okay. Okay. I've got Joy South John. I can't pronounce the last name. Southworth, Michigan Trapping Predator Callers Association supports and wishes to speak. Good morning.
My name is John Southworth. I'm a member of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. I also sit on the board of directors for the Michigan Trappers, and I have been authorized by them to say that we support any and all bill that would include our management tool towards the managing wolves.
Are you, can you share with us a little bit about your experience, what you're seeing?
I'm actually from the whole area. I do have one experience. I deer hunted in the little town of Herman, just outside Lance. We arrived, this was 3 years ago, we arrived in Herman the night, on the 13th. We set up to go hunt deer on the 14th, and we saw 37 deer, and there was 4 of us. The morning of the 15th came, we hunted all day, we didn't see one. The next day, one of our members saw 1 deer. Little town of Herman puts on a dinner for all the sportsmen that come up there, and they actually, one of the members came in and said, we finally figured out why we're not seeing any deer. Herman, I believe, is the highest point in Michigan. It's almost like a mountain, is what I was told. And what had happened is one of the neighbors had seen 5 wolves cross the road going towards the mountain, and the deer disappeared that night. On the last day, I saw 2 deer personally, and I also saw my first wolf. They're like a little fawn, yearling, and the wolf out. I mean, it was just huge. There was no way that was a deer that I was seeing. That was definitely a wolf. So, I mean, just that type of if the wolves are hurting, I'm trying to get my mind straight here. If the wolves are hurting the population of the deer is going to decline, and your deer hunters are going to come back down south, because we know that the deer population down here is better, which is going to hurt the economy up north, because I guarantee that the economy up north weighs a lot more down on the deer hunters up north than they do down here. So that's what I would add to it. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Okay, I've got one more here here with us today. Harold Melton, representing himself, wishes to speak, opposes the bill, but then has a note with change. Hi. The red button, sir, is it?
Okay.
There you go.
How's that? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to have good wolf management. The DNR should be the ones that manage it. I do oppose any kind of a tax, like a fee, a $4 fee, and then I think the $100 fee is exorbitant. I think it's a deterrent for the people that would like to get up there and hunt these. They should be allowed to keep the pelts, and if they can sell them, great. I spent some time in the UP in the western end bear hunting, and after having talked to several successful bear hunters, I found that if they get a bear and they don't happen to get it that night because it winds up being too dark, or they don't have enough help in order to go out there and retrieve it, they probably better get out there extremely early in the morning, because the wolves will destroy the bear. I did talk to one fellow that lost one. I said, well, how do you know it was another bear that ate it? Because bears do cannibalize each other. And he said because of all the tracks around there, and he managed to, when he approached his downed bear, he saw 3 or 4 wolves run off. And as far as the management goes, I think perhaps the management could do it in, first off, let the DNR manage it, and do it in the way that they do the deer. Set the numbers that need to be culled down in different areas, like you say that the wolves are heavily populated in the western end. That's where I hunted, in the Baraga area. Make the numbers higher there, and where they're not so heavily populated, lower it, or maybe restrict it in different areas. I know that the DNR does do a pretty good job of managing animals, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. I guess that's about it. I try to make it short and sweet. So, if you have anything you'd like to ask me, oh, by the way, there was one other thing. Where I went, the fellow I went with had several trail cams out, and they were 20 to 25 miles apart from different areas, and a lot of the photos that were taken, of course, were at night, and some daylight time, with a lot of wolves. Some were with their collar, and a lot were without. And he was finding that there's a lot more than, at least he believes there was a lot more wolves in the area than is actually reported. And I think from what I've seen up there, and from my hunting and could hear them, I think there is a tremendous amount of wolves up in the western end of the UP that should definitely be culled out.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to move back up to the Upper Peninsula. Do we have Al Clemens? Al supports?
I support your bill. Thanks for giving me the time to voice my concern. I'm 71 years old. I've had 55 years of hunting in the area. I lived here all my life. Wolves are the problem. I had a meeting set up here on July 3rd, 2007 with Mr. Mike Lottie, and Percy, who didn't show up. He was supposed to come up, and another fella from Grand Rapids area. And they wanted to know exactly what was going on with the wolf situation. And I had about 15 people present there, and they all stated what their problems were with the wolf. And they went back with that information, and in the meantime, I had 1,200 signatures sent to Mr. Lottie from the area here to have a hunt and trapping season on the wolves to try to get one. And nothing was done. And later I had them send 1,200 signatures to Rebecca Humphrey, and nothing was done then either. In the meantime, I had called different entities and people like Anna Seisman from the SCI in Washington, John from the NRA. They both called legislators to try to get this moving. So whether that did the trick or not, but in 2008, then the 2 laws were passed that are in effect right now. Anyway, hopefully that's what happened. Wolves are the problem. The head of Department of Interior, Ken Selzar, has to get involved and take the law away from, and he has to get involved on these lawsuits and hassle from these people from the animal rights group people. They've got to be taken, something has to be done with them. The UP needs a bounty on wolves, I believe. Wolves are the problem. At minimum, the UP needs to open wolf season during deer seasons, and tag costs need to be low enough that every deer hunter will have one, and bag limits should be generous. Wolves are the problem. They're smart and they're extremely hard to hunt or trap. Getting their numbers down to the state's targeted population figures will be difficult. Keeping them there doubly so. Hunting them hard is something that is long overdue. Are you listening, Michigan? Wolves are the problem. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife has too many employees who do not hunt or fish and are actually trying to reduce opportunities for hunting and fishing. The biggest problem is that the universities have anti-hunting professors brainwashing the students they teach to think the predators do not need to be managed and that the animals will self-maintain their numbers. There are simply too many greenies running the system. Wolves are the problem. I'm definitely against the wolves. I've hunted, like I said, for 55 years, but I haven't bought a deer license in the last 3 years because the area that I hunt in South Ironwood, the deer are just about gone in that area. And to this day, there's very few there, and the wolves are there. There's a pack that crossed from Wisconsin, and there's 2 packs that are right in Michigan here. Shoot straight, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. I just want to maybe back you up a little bit. I was involved in a court case quite a few years ago now, and there actually was precedent set, and the judge cited it in the court case, that experience deems you an expert. And so I just want to remind everybody, as we keep talking about evidence and experts and all the science and everything we're talking about, that at least our courts recognize that experience considers you an expert. And in that case, I only had 24 years of driving a log truck, and the judge decided or cited this case that I was legally an expert because of my 24 years of experience. So I don't want to diminish anybody else that you mentioned professors. They're certainly experts in their field too, but I want to remind everybody that people that have that kind of experience, 55 years, does deem you an expert. So thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay, next we've got Janine Winkoski. I think I said that right. Opposes, and I think you're in the UP.
Jacqueline Winkowski, go by Jackie.
Jacqueline, okay, I'm sorry.
I should be considered an expert. I'm a lifetime UP resident, and I have had personal experience with wolves. I'm from Gwynn, and I'm also volunteering with Wolf Watcher. I'm a lifelong resident of the Upper Peninsula as well as a business owner. I urge you to vote no on Senate Bill 1350. I grew up on a farm in a family that included hunters who hunted only what would end up on the dinner table, namely deer and grouse. There were no wolves in the UP when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, and believe it or not, I recall adult members of our family expressing regret that wolves had been eradicated from the region, because in addition to having hunters in the family, there were also wildlife watchers who enjoyed seeing all the wild animals. As a sled dog musher, I I first encountered wolves in the Central Upper Peninsula during a training run in the mid-1990s. My fixed dog came and I faced two wolves running in the opposite direction on a parallel trail beside a railroad bridge. And this is somewhat documented. I had somebody with me, and I also wrote an article about this that was published. And anyway, the wolves ran past our team with barely a glance our way. I've come to learn that this is typical wolf behavior. That same winter when my fixed dog team and I were in sled dog racing in Alger County, a wolf stood beside the trail a couple hundred feet in distance, then turned and ran away. In the early 2000s, my husband and I repeatedly saw wolf tracks and sign near our home, near Gwynn, and we have more than 20 dogs living at our home. On two occasions, wolf tracks appeared behind our pen, housing puppies, and you could see where the tracks came from in the woods, went right next to the fence, hesitated, then continued on their way. The wolves made no effort to penetrate the 6-foot-high welded wire fence where we housed our dogs. And all of our dogs are fenced in. We had no problems with the wolves during this era. In April 2002, I encountered a wolf near our Marquette area home, adjacent to thousands of acres of forested, corporate, and state land. The wolf, perhaps 200 feet from my lead dog and me, sprinted away at the sound of my voice. I kind of regretted that I said, "Get out of here," because I really did want a better look at it, but it was startling to see a wolf. A week later, a second wolf chased a snowshoe hare across the county road no more than 30 feet in front of me and my leash dog. It simply stopped and looked at us for about 10 seconds, then continued pursuing the hare. And, you know, maybe some of you will find this hard to believe. That's easily among the top 20 best moments of my life, of seeing that beautiful animal. Neither my husband or I have ever once felt threatened by wolves. The wolves have never threatened our dogs. The key is being aware of their presence and taking care of one's animals by being a responsible pet owner and taking reasonable precautions. Dogs need to be leashed and under the owner's control. Animals need to be fenced. People need to refrain from letting dogs run loose in wolf territory. As you might know, sled dogs mushers. Our dogs are, when we're out in the woods with them, they're always connected with a gangway. When we walk our dogs, we always have them on us. We own a sled dog touring business. We have hosted many participants from near and afar. They're excited to hear about our region's wild animals, none more than wolves. They've enjoyed seeing wolf tracks in the snow and finding territorial markings. I think the key in this whole issue is Michigan law that's been in effect since January 2012 allows livestock owners and dog owners to kill wolves that are displaying threatening behavior, and that has happened. Livestock owners have been issued landowner permits. There is no scientific need to hunt wolves. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan is ideal wolf habitat, and wolves fulfill an important role in the environment. Wolves attract tourists and wildlife watchers. This has been big business in areas like Yellowstone and small towns like Erie, Minnesota, and it could be for Michigan. The prevalence of wolves spotted in the Wisconsin and Minnesota wolf hunts are being flaunted and celebrated by some, but to most people they are tragic, shocking, and disgusting. Through education, it's possible for producers and landowners to coexist with wolves. By continuing to respect and value the wolf and by refraining from hunting them, Michigan will continue to be seen in a positive light by wildlife watching tourists as well as the vast majority of people who live in Michigan, including the Upper Peninsula. And I wanted to mention, Senator Casperson said that wolves by nature are aggressive. I'm not a scientist. However, I have, my husband and I spent thousands of dollars to go on a wolf watching trip, and we were able to spend a lot of time with the renowned biologist, David Meach. Also, we've had the opportunity to meet and talk with Will Peterson on Isle Royal. And I've read many books about wolves, and they are not aggressive in nature. They're gentle in nature. They are a curious animal. They might appear aggressive when they're killing an animal for food, which is what they do. But I've read so much, and I've never actually heard anybody describe them as an aggressive animal. They're not aggressive for people. The interactions I had with them, they're simply curious. The one that we saw at close range, stopped and looked at my dog and me for about 10 seconds, made eye contact, and then he sprinted after the snowshoe hare, which is what he was doing until we interrupted him. And I have some information here. There is a Mississippi State University study being done that shows that wolves are not the #1 predator of deer. That would be the coyote, bear, bobcat. And a copy of that study will be available, can be sent to you. Also, there's another study that in indicates that human hunters and weather have the greatest impact on deer populations, not the wolf. As far as the carrying capacity, that has come up today. Estimates are that the UP can support 1,000 or more wolves. We're talking about the carrying capacity. And that concludes my statement.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Just one quick question. The comment's been made here quite a few times today about the balance in the ecoregion in the sense of wolves are a part of it. Do you know what was, and maybe we should ask this earlier, or others too, but what was the problem when we had 6 wolves in the UP? What was our problem? When we talk about the balance, what was created, what problem was created by that imbalance?
Well, I'll tell you, I remember driving through the UP as a young driver and seeing herds and herds of deer. I mean, it was, there were so many deer. Somebody referenced that it was the poorest hunting season ever in the 60s. We didn't have deer in the 60s, so what was the problem then? What caused the deer to die off then? You know, was it a tough winter? I just think the presence of the wolf, this is their historic range. They belong here. They do take care of diseased animals. Diseased deer now, it's a big problem in Michigan. There are various diseases. There's a new one that's caused by a fly bite, I believe. And the deer will take care, the wolves will take care of diseased deer. And those will be the first ones that they will prey on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you for your testimony. That's all the cards I have right now on the bill that wish to speak. I'm going to read off a list here. I've got quite a few that do not wish to speak. Trevor Van Dyke with the DNR, unless we had questions, they've already testified. They support the bill. Rebecca Parks with Farm Bureau supports the bill, only would speak if needed. James Clift, Michigan Environmental Council, does not wish to speak, opposes the bill. Noel Laporte is representing the band of Potawatomi and opposes the bill, doesn't wish to speak. Noel Laporte, Little Traverse Bay, band of Ottawa, opposes the bill, doesn't wish to speak. Kurt Perrin, Bay Mills Indian Community, doesn't wish to speak, opposes the bill. Matt Pedigo, MBHA, doesn't wish to speak, supports the bill. Roger Thurman, Michigan Fox Hunters, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Dean Hall, Michigan Bow Hunters Association, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Kent Wood, MUCC, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Mike Thurman, Michigan Hunting Dog Federation, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Jim Wake, Michigan State Coon Hunters, does not wish to speak and supports the bill. That's all I have for cards on that, and I think we reached everybody in the UP that wished to speak. We had a list here I went through. Are we good up there? Hearing nothing up there, that sounds like we've met that. I do have other members voting in other committees, and that's why we're waiting for them. We're going to be waiting for them to come back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to another bill that we're just taking testimony on. Senate Bill 1328 contains some of the recommendations made by the Office of Regulatory Reinvention regarding environmental regulations related to remediation of contaminated property. Our intention is just to take testimony today as the discussion continues with stakeholders and DEQ on the changes of the bill. Excuse me for 1 minute. Okay, we're going to do as I said. We're going to go on with Senate Bill 1328. And I've got cards here, and I think we're going to get started with Maggie. Is Maggie with us today with DEQ?
Here with me today is Ann Couture, our acting remediation and redevelopment chief. We spoke before you guys last time we met to give an overview of this bill, but I wanted to update you just real quickly what we're still working on with the Senator's office and the regulated community and MEC. We have a couple changes to the bill that hopefully will be presented after Thanksgiving, and those include, and I'll just go through the list and then I'll have Ann explain what they actually are, since these are just kind of words to me. Soil relocation, dealing with where contaminated soil can be moved on-site and off-site. Some MIOSHA regulations that we need to update within the bill. When we did the 213 package earlier this year, we hadn't incorporated some of the changes that came out of the ORR or CSI process. So we're going to be looking at updating the 213 to allow them to use the GSI, which is the groundwater surface water interface. Updating the due care plans, and then allowing for some self-implementation of the 201 program to alleviate some regulatory burden that we have as a department. So I'll let Ann speak to those in more detail, but thank you.
Maggie, I think you did a fine job. I'm just available for any questions. These are essentially made to streamline the cleanup and redevelopment process. We've been working through these issues for quite some time with the regulated community, and I think it'll just really make us get more cleanups and a more expedited, efficient way.
Very good. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before I lose anybody else here, we're going to shift gears for a second and go back to our Senate Bill 1350. And before we go and ask for a vote on this, I just want to establish that the goal, or my intent here, is that we establish the wolf as a game animal, not for the intent of us deciding how we're going to hunt the animal, but to give it over to the Department of Natural Resource, in this case the NRC, the Natural Resource Commission, who has constitutional authority on setting the parameters of a hunt if in fact the hunt is justified. And to move forward with the process, I'd like to move it out of committee, but I also want for the record to state that there are those that have engaged, and we have been talking, specifically the tribes. We've had some great conversations, I believe, and I think we can come to some understandings or agreements in certain parts of this, and namely the science side of this. We've heard a lot of testimony today about the science. So at this point, I would like to burrow down a little bit with that, so as we move forward, if we can work that out through the legislation as we move the process forward, that would be my intent, if we can come to an understanding on the science, to maybe make recommendations to the NRC. But ultimately the NRC is going to take this up and actually authorize a hunt or not. And so I also would like to reach out to those that might oppose this and say that I'm happy to talk with anybody that's opposing this and see if we can't facilitate some meetings to or with the NRC. And my hope is that the NRC will have hearings on this so everybody can weigh in with them. And at the end of the day, then the science will be heard one way or the other. So with that, if I could have a motion to report Senate Bill 1350 with recommendation that the bill then pass. Senator Green. Clerk, would you please call the roll on Senate Bill 1350?
Senator Casperson.
Yes.
Senator Pavlov. Senator Green. Senator Kowal. Senator Meekoff. Senator Warren. Senator Hood. Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas and 2 nays.
Thank you. The bill is reported. Without objection, the committee recommends immediate effect. Okay, done with that business, we're going to get back to Senate Bill 328. The DEQ has testified. I've got a card with James Cliff, Michigan Environmental Council, wishes to speak and opposes the bill. Morning, James.
Thank you very much, Chairman, committee members. James Cliff, Policy Director of the Michigan Environmental Council. I spoke to you about this bill once before, about some of the concerns we have. We have met with the department and are looking at other provisions, so we haven't seen language yet, so I guess I don't have a lot to add, although it doesn't sound like all of our concerns are going to be met, but we will continue to work with the department and try to address those concerns going forward.
Thank you, James. Any questions? Seeing none? Thank you. Next I've got James Griffin, Associated Petroleum Industries of Michigan. He had to leave. Okay, he circled it yes and no, but he says support, so I guess he would have, it didn't matter if he spoke or not, he just wanted to be on the record that he supports. Tiffany Watras, Detroit Regional Chamber, doesn't wish to speak, supports the bill. Okay, that's all the cards I have on 328. We were taking that up just for testimony as they continue to work on that. Next, we're going to move on to Senate Bill 1334, and it was my understanding that Maggie, with the DEQ, you were going to explain the bill. Is somebody here to explain it? Oh, okay. Andy, you would come forward on the bill. Michigan Manufacturing Association wishes to speak and supports. Good morning, Andy.
Morning, Senator, committee members. My name is Andy Such. I'm the Director of Environmental and Regulatory Affairs for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. I was a member of the first Advisory Rules Committee appointed by the Office of Regulatory Reinvention, also known around here as ORR, in 2010 to review the 2,500 rule sets and 8,000 guidance documents and operational memos within the Department of Environmental Quality. It was a fun 9 months. You can 39 different meetings. But from that came 79 recommendations, including what you have in front of you, which is Senate Bill 1334. This bill will extend the requirement to dispose of sharps containers from every 90 days to 1 year, or when full, whichever comes first. Why are the manufacturers involved in this? Because our member companies who have research facilities have these sharps containers under every one of their research, the hoods that are in their labs, research labs. And they may only have a single, in a month period, 2 month period, maybe only 1 or 2 needles in there, and don't need to be disposed of every 90 days. And the disposal process for the sharps container is an expensive process. The obligation still remains to dispose of the container when it's full. It only changes the stipulation with regard to sharps containers themselves, not all medical waste containers. And I think that's very important to note. For the manufacturers with research lab facilities, the cost savings is in the thousands of dollars. For a large company with many research labs within their facility, it could be over $100,000. We have coordinated with the Michigan State Medical Society and the Michigan Health and Hospital Association in the development of the language, and we would urge you to support 1334 and ask the committee to report it out with recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Andy. Next, I've got James Cliff, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Michigan Environmental Council. And Maggie Detma with DEQ does not wish to speak, but supports the bill. We're good to go, Maggie? Okay. And that's all the cards I have on that bill. And with that, I see no further business before this committee. We're adjourned.